have today is a presentation from organizations who are going to speak about Kansas home visiting programs that benefit our families and their young children. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Hillary Kane from Kansas Parents as Teachers and let her begin to explain the presentation today.
Actually, I'm turning it over to the short worker because she started it. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Kansas Home Visiting Partners, thank you for your interest in learning more about the early education home visiting programs in Kansas. We appreciate the invitation to join you for today's Early Learning Caucus. I'm Heather Schroberger, Executive Director of the Kansas Head Start Association. Today, you're going to have the opportunity to learn more about the high-quality home visiting programs for families and children in Kansas from many of my home visiting partners in the room, as well as hear from a home visitor and a home visiting participant. First, though, I would like to talk very briefly about the role of home visitors within the early childhood workforce and the role of early childhood home visiting in the early childhood mixed delivering system. Home visiting programs strengthen outcomes for both children and their families. Early childhood home visitors provide early education in a family's home to promote the healthy growth and development of infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. Home visitors have a wide range of qualifications, expertise, and experiences. They include nurses, early childhood practitioners, early intervention specialists, and social workers. They're knowledgeable, prepared, dedicated, and caring individuals. One of the primary roles of a home visitor is to encourage parents as their child's first and most important caregiver and teacher, and to support parents in engaging with their children in positive, nurturing ways. For many families, home visitors, through their referrals and coordination, serve as the family's introduction and connection to the broader early childhood system within the local community. In Kansas communities, home visiting programs are offered by county health departments, early education and social service organizations, and school districts. Today, you're going to have the opportunity to hear about Early Head Start, Healthy Families, Part C Infant Toddler Services, Nurse Family Partnership, MCH Universal Home Visiting, and Parents as Teachers. In your folders, you have a sheet that provides a glance at that continuum of home visiting services. Every dollar spent on home visiting results in a return on investment of anywhere from $1.80 to $5.70, consistent with other early education programs. Home visiting is a cost-effective, two-generational approach that impacts a range of outcomes for children and parents, including healthy child development, school readiness, and family well-being. I could go on and on about home visiting, but I'm going to move us to the model overviews because I want you to have plenty of time to hear from each of the partners. So, as I said, at this time we're going to move into brief overviews of the home visiting models. Each presenter will introduce themselves, but you also have a list of key contacts in your folders today. I'm going to begin by talking about Early Head Start home visiting. As I mentioned, I'm with the Kansas Head Start Association. At KHSA, we support the work of the Head Start programs serving young children and their families throughout Kansas communities. Prior to my role at KHSA, I was executive director of an early education organization that offered Early Head Start, home visiting services, and child care services. Head Start programs in Kansas provide intensive, comprehensive early education services to Kansas families with young children through a few program options. Head Start services for preschool-aged children, which may be what you're most familiar with, but also Early Head Start home visiting for pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, and Early Head Start child care services for infants and toddlers. I'm going to focus today on Early Head Start home visiting, but you have a handout in your packet about the reach of Head Start across the state of Kansas. Early Head Start home visiting has income-based eligibility criteria and serves families that are facing challenging economic or social circumstances. Early Head Start home visitors provide high-quality early education and parent education through weekly 90-minute home visits to promote healthy child development and school readiness. A fun fact is that in fiscal year 24, Early Head Start home visitors across Kansas made nearly 74,000 home visits to Early Head Start families. Early Head Start home visitors offer regular parent-child group socialization opportunities. They connect families with important resources such as health, mental health, and early intervention services in their communities. A family can enroll in early Head Start when they are expecting or any time when the child is under the age of 3. Services continue until the child turns 3 and transitions into another program, perhaps Head Start or another preschool-aged program. Early Head Start is an evidence-based home visiting program providing services across key areas: child development, family engagement, health, mental health. This includes assuring that children receive ongoing screenings and assessments, partnering with organizations and agencies across multiple sectors and service areas, including child welfare, health, prenatal, nutrition, job training, employment supports, basic needs and resources, higher education, K-12 system, libraries, local extension offices, and local businesses. Positive early Head Start outcomes include increased family self-sufficiency, reduced parental stress, positive parenting practices, and child school readiness. I appreciate your time. Next on our agenda is Kelly Hayes with Healthy Families, but I'll be happy to stand for any questions at the appropriate time should you have them.
Heather, thank you so much. Senator Petty is not here yet, and she hasn't answered my text. I am not the chair, but I work on the caucus on the House side. So Emily, feel free to continue, but does anybody have questions for Heather? Go on.
Over
Thank
to
you.
Kelly Hayes with Kansas Children's Service League then. Just adjust with there.
Thanks. Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Hayes. As Heather mentioned, I'm with the Kansas Children's Service League, and I'm the director of our Healthy Families program. And I'm just going to briefly, tell you a little bit. So I'm with KCSL. We're a statewide organization. We're a nonprofit. We've been serving children and families in Kansas since 1893. Our mission is to protect and promote the well-being of children. We are the state chapter for Prevent Child Abuse America, so we're the Prevent Child Abuse Kansas chapter, and we're an accredited multi-site system for Healthy Families America. So I'm going to talk to you just really briefly about the Healthy Families America model. It is, as Heather mentioned with Early Head Start, another evidence-based national home visiting program. It was developed by Prevent Child Abuse America with the goal of keeping children safe at home and out of the foster care system. The approach that we use is relationship-based, family-centered, strengths-based. We use the parallel process where we try to develop relationships with families that set the stage for the kind of relationships that they have with their children, relationships based on trust and mutual respect. Our services include weekly home visits that will decrease over time. We use parenting and child development curriculum with families. Each family does goal setting based on what their individualized needs are for their family, and we offer quarterly socialization events. This is a map of our multi-state system. So we cover 44 counties in Kansas, and we have 13 programs in 12 cities. But I also wanted to share that there are some additional Healthy Families America programs in Kansas through the Lawrence Douglas County Public Health Department. They have a Healthy Families program serving Douglas County. The Unified Government of Wyandotte in Kansas City Public Health Department has a Healthy Families program serving Wyandotte County, and KVC has a program that serves 7 counties in northeast Kansas. A few of our outcomes: 96% of the families we serve are able to keep their children at home, meaning that their children don't end up in any type of out-of-home placement or foster care. And 93% of parents show improvement in their parent-child interactions, and 92% of the families we work with reported that their quality of life improved because of KCSL's services. And then I'll just end with this quote. This is from a participant in our program last year that said, "KCSL is so amazing. We've been in the program for a year, and it has done so much for us with material items, but also helped us be better parents, even helped get my kids on insurance. Being a part of KCSL has helped in so many ways." And we do work, as all of our home visiting programs do, to connect families with other resources. So if families need mental health, or they need housing help or food, we all partner with our community resources to make sure that parents get their needs met. So I am going to turn it over to our Part C speaker.
Could you mind, hold on, Kelly, let me just see if anybody has any questions directly for Kelly with Healthy Families. I have one, and we may be getting to it, but, your services are in the eastern part of the state. Do we have a desert of home visit in the rest of the state, or are we getting to that with other presenters? Do you know?
That might be a longer answer, but just to say, all of our programs are we have a state home visiting leadership team, and those are some of the things we address, is looking at what is the continuum of care across the state and where are those home visiting deserts? And there are a few in some of our most rural counties, and it's something that we're working together to try to talk about how can we get home visiting services to those parts of the state?
Well, thank you so much. I can tell you as a mom of 7 that early learning is so stressful, and it sounds like you're addressing some of those comprehensively, and we know that things can tip over into abuse when the frustration level is just unbearable.
High stress is a risk factor for child abuse and neglect. So anytime parents can receive resources to help reduce the things that are causing stress, it makes it for a safer environment for the child.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Kelly? All right, thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Franz Langford, and I am here to talk about our Part C programs, which are the Infant Toddler Services of Kansas programs. Our mission is to support the needs of Kansas families with infants and toddlers experiencing developmental delays or disabilities so every child can learn, grow, and reach their fullest potential. The Infant Toddler Services of Kansas is actually the Part C provider of special education for children from birth through age 3. The name Part C refers to the section of the law of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. We have 29 programs across the state serving all 105 counties, and we do that through 400 licensed early intervention professionals. Those professionals consist of physical therapists, occupational therapists, early childhood special education teachers, and a variety of other disciplines. We have served over 11,000 infants and toddlers each year. In order for children to be enrolled in our program, they must have either a developmental delay of 25% in one developmental domain or 20% in 2 domains, or have an established risk, usually related to a medical diagnosis such as Down syndrome or cerebral palsy, are just 2 examples, or clinical opinion. Sometimes our assessments aren't always picking up all of the nuances of infant and toddler development. And 25% of our referrals come directly from the medical community. In our program, parents are partners in education. They set the priorities that they want for us to address. They set the outcomes, and then we go and provide services wherever the child is during the day. That can be at home, at childcare. We go to grocery stores, to the mall, any place where the child is spending their time, so that we can really look at what are the learning opportunities presented to that child throughout the day. I wanted to say thank you for all of the legislative support. On a national level, we have a lot of pride in how our Part C system is funded through the state, and the legislature plays a big role in that. And we are able to offer services at no out-of-pocket cost to families, which is huge and gives every child the opportunity to learn. And as far as the return on investment, 36.5% of children that have participated in our program do not need further special education services at the age of 3. They are on target for learning and off to a great start as they head into kindergarten. This slide is for questions, but I also wanted to point out the website located on the bottom. You can click on that website and find the local program contacts for your areas. That way you can connect with the coordinator if you have any questions or would like more information about the services being provided to your constituents. Thank you so much, and stand for questions.
Any questions? I think that I wrote down, I think it's always important to remember that 36.5% that no further need is that early intervention. Have you, or has, others that work with Part C put a dollar figure to that, what that saves?
I have seen a range of return on investments because sometimes we get put in with different programs. But I can say on a national level, it's usually $12 to $17, or $12 to $17 of a return on investment for every dollar spent.
Thank you. Senator Gossage.
I apologize. I have appointments in my office.
Senator Pascato.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kelly, wonderful presentation. So when you say that they don't need the services at age 3, does that mean because they no longer have that Part C, or the services just stop at that point?
Thank you for your question. When I'm saying that they no longer need services at age 3, I'm speaking to that percentage of children that have reached their developmental milestones. We also support the transition of children. So if they continue to need services at age 3, we help transition to the school district, to the Part B program, the 3 to 21 program, or other community resources as parents request.
Thank you so much for being here. When I walked in, I'm like blown away at all of you here, so thank you. I'm Nikki McDonald. I'm from Olathe and Overland Park area, and my background is also teaching, and I'm a mom. But I've been thinking a lot about the pandemic and how it must have made your job so difficult. But I also wondered if it might have given you some new ideas on ways to do your job. So have you seen any? Have we bounced back from trying to make sure we identify enough kids, and are there things you do differently now compared to before the pandemic?
That's an interesting question, and you've asked an early childhood nerd, so I'm happy to talk about it. I think one of the things coming out of the pandemic that research is currently starting to show is the difference in language development, particularly for that group of children. And so from that, we've really started to see research coming out about the amount of screen time, or more importantly, the amount of conversations and turn-taking and conversations that they have with caregivers throughout the day. So that has certainly come specifically out of the pandemic. I would say as far as our services go, I certainly am always committed to what we call child find, identifying children that are eligible for services. We did provide telehealth, and in some instances that works well, but we do try to be in the homes because a big component of what we do is what we call action practice. We work with the child as they're playing in real time and their caregivers so that we're building that capacity. And a lot of that is just better done one-on-one. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Emily, I don't know, I'm sorry that I had to arrive late. I'm Senator Pat Petty, but I'm on Ways and Means, and we're in the height of the budget process on the Senate side anyway. So that's why I was here late. So Emily, go ahead.
What I can do is take just a very brief moment for anybody who also had other obligations. Today is Kansas Parents as Teachers Advocacy Day. So that's part of how you're able to see so many early childhood professionals here today. And so we began with a presentation from Kansas Head Start with Heather Schroetberger, and you have packets available to you with handouts, and then have progressed through to a couple other organizations, Kansas Children's Services League, and then we just had Kelly with Infant Toddler Services. of Kansas. And so now at this point, I think, Hillary, are you the next? So, okay, so I'm going to go next to Ariana. Thank you.
Thanks, Ariana. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Ariana Atkinson, and I'm the team leader of the Nurse Family Partnership Program at the Shawnee County Health Department. Sorry, I'm working the slide here. The Nurse Family Partnership is an evidence-based program started by Dr. David Olds, where he saw that if families had a personal nurse involved early in prenatal up until their child was 2, that there were better health outcomes, graduation rates, lower instances of child abuse and neglect. So again, like I said, the program is evidence-based. It's a therapeutic relationship with a nurse and the client. It promotes attachment and it's strengths-focused. Eligibility for the program would be that it's a first-time parent, that they be enrolled by their 28th week of pregnancy. They feel like that's a golden time, and that it's low income. And so at Shawnee County Health Department, that's 200% of poverty or below. The duration of the program lasts prenatally, so 28 weeks of pregnancy up until the child is 2. Some of the features of the program would include our client-centered principles. So we're going to focus on solutions with the parent. We're going to focus on their strengths, and only a small change is necessary. Other things we're working on, there's a mental health protocol, like in hospitals, how there's the different, things that you may have going wrong with you, and there's a protocol to follow. So we have a mental health protocol if that mom's in crisis, how to help them navigate through that and get them referred to the resources that they need. We are working with the moms on 6 domains. So it's maternal health, their maternal role, their family and friends, their health, and kind of how they're utilizing services, and their life course development. It's a very holistic type of care because everything's kind of connected. And then, so for the outcomes, we just really want to see improved pregnancy and maternal outcomes, and improved child outcomes, and self-efficacy and self-sufficiency for the family. So really just encouraging the moms, these first-time parents, to be the best parents that they could be. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it seems like you target the mothers that you help, the first-time mothers. Are they, what's their age range?
It really depends. So we had seen a trend where it was like teen mothers, but now we're seeing it's like the age of like 20 to 24. We do have some later term moms, a little bit mature at age. So it kind of varies. That's a great question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here today. This is a great program, and I'm really excited to hear about all of the different outcomes and everything. But my question for you is there any outreach efforts being done for maybe those who are enrolled in Medicaid or WIC during their pregnancy? Is that one of the ways that you get them encouraged to enroll in the program?
So that's a great question. Actually, I would say 90% of our referrals do come from our WIC office. And so they're kind of in for their WIC, and the dietitian will tell them about all of our maternal health programs. And then we also have another community outreach called Successful Connections. They refer to themselves as the resource ladies. So they're connected with all kinds of community resources and send to the appropriate place. Thank you.
Ariana, so that was, I'm glad that question was asked, because I was going to ask the same thing, because I wondered if you made any connections when at the hospitals or birthing centers, wherever the new moms were at. So most of them come through WIC.
Most of them come through WIC. We would love to get into the hospital. We've been in Kansas for a while. We're the only one here, and so we're definitely looking for different ways to get more referrals to connect with different people. Currently, we're pretty short-staffed, so we're kind of having to be careful with who we are reaching out to. So.
Right. So, and you are only in Shawnee County?
Yes, there actually was one in Olathe in Johnson County, but they've decided to go with a different model, so we're currently the only in Kansas.
Okay. Any further questions? Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Holly Fry, and I'm a home visiting program consultant at the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And we get funding from the Maternal and Child Health Block Grant and the Kansas Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund to award local organizations for implementing the universal MCH home visiting model. Let's see if I can turn it. No. Sorry. It took all those pushes and. Wait. Okay. Got it. Thank you. So who does MCH Home Visiting serve? We work with expecting parents through 1 year postpartum and their infants. And home visitors are trained nurses, social workers, community health workers, or paraprofessionals. So it really varies across the state. Those home visitors will provide screening and education based on topics that are important to new mothers. And when I say new, it can be somebody who's becoming a parent for the first time or somebody who has 4 other children. But topics such as post-birth warning signs, so those things to look for after giving birth that might warrant a call to your doctor or even a visit to the emergency room. They also educate on safe sleep practices and help with breastfeeding and screen for maternal mental health and social determinants of health, so needs for housing or food. So visits occur usually just 1 to 2 in the prenatal period and 1 to 2 in the postpartum period. Usually about 1 hour per visit. So where some of the other home visiting models we heard about are more intense and longer term, universal home visiting has the goal of reaching as many families as possible, regardless of income or other eligibility criteria. And we're just visiting to give kind of that baseline information and screening. And so the first visit, the home visitor might go and get to know the family, provide a gift or a sort of supply like diapers or something that a family can use. And then the second visit, visits can also occur outside the home. So that's why on the first one, I have just a little duck to represent the gift. And it might occur in a clinic, like a WIC clinic. And then the family might be more open to allowing somebody into their home to provide more education and then screen for those things like maternal mental health and needs for housing or nutrition. And then the last visit, depending on the family's strengths and needs, the home visitor will either conclude services or connect to the other programs that have been mentioned, like Part C or Nurse Family Partnership. So as I mentioned, the visits don't always happen in the home. Sometimes they happen in the health department. Sometimes they happen in the hospital. Because, we just have that 1 to 2 prenatal and 1 to 2 postpartum. It's wherever the family feels comfortable. It could be in the park, so bigger kids can play and kind of be occupied while mom meets with the home visitor. So it's based more on the scope of what's provided during the visit than the location. And so where is it available in Kansas? So the programs that are funded by Kansas Department of Health and Environment are shown on the map. There are some that are funded just using their local dollars, but these are the locations across the state. And so we geographically are pretty spread out, but being a universal program, we would like to be everywhere. So we have some opportunity for growth. And we fund local health departments, some hospitals, a university, a federally qualified health center, and so and community-based organization, quite a variety of organizations. Are there any questions?
Thank you. When I had my first child, I had a lot of issues with like lactation and mastitis and things like that. If you had a parent who was presenting with some challenges in that way, are you like able to point them in the right direction to get that sort of help, or is that something you guys do?
Absolutely. So some home visitors are certified lactation consultants. A lot of them are employed by local health departments, which then may also have breastfeeding experts with higher levels of credentials. And then we partner a lot to provide general training and help achieving those certifications. We partner with the Kansas Breastfeeding Coalition, who is also here. And so yes, that is a key piece of what is provided by Universal Home Visitors.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to say that I've learned more than I thought I would today. Great information. Thank you. So when you say families and parents, so is this program just geared towards the mom and dad entire family?
It is. It's a lot of times
Okay.
it's the mom that is involved, and we get referrals from WIC or sometimes the hospital.
So do you have to be married,
Oh,
the mom, dad,
absolutely not.
the family unit
And we
to?
will still serve
Okay.
foster parents and
Okay.
grandparents and dads, because sometimes mom is not involved. And so it's whoever is providing the care to an infant can receive services.
Well, thank you, Senator Petty. This is really good. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Before you leave, so you mentioned sources of contact information. So where do you get where is your largest source of making contacts with families?
I would say WIC. So pretty common with some of the other programs. WIC is making a lot of referrals. Again, I think for the universal model, it's because it's often and most frequently located within the health department, as WIC is. But we also have a lot of sites that do have good partnerships with their hospitals and birthing centers, like the University of Kansas in Wichita. They work with the hospitals there. Saline County Health Department works with Salina Regional Hospital. I think Shawnee County works with Stormont Vale. So there are some connections there too.
Great. It's always so important to get as early as possible.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and so on the pregnancy side, it's a little more challenging, I hear. Becoming a mom prenatal classes are another referral resource for home visiting that connect with families prenatally and then can refer on to that one-on-one service.
And just like was mentioned before, there are no costs to the families.
Correct. Yeah, no
Thank you.
cost.
Any other, go ahead, Nick.
This is just a more broad statement. I apologize that we don't have more legislators in here today. It's not indicative of our interest as a whole in early childhood. It's really, I think most of us are pretty focused on that. We just have a condensed session this year, and there's like 7 places to be at once. So please don't be offended by our lack of presence, because we are in this building, and if you see someone with a name tag or with one of those little special buttons that the senators have, accost us a little bit and have conversations. We really, really appreciate you all being here today. I know it's not minor for you to get here, so thank you.
So I'm going to speed up even a little bit more to talk about parents as teachers because we have a family that receives home visit services as well as a parent educator that provides home visit services that we want to make sure we have plenty of time for you guys to be able to hear from as well. I am Hillary Kane. I'm the executive director for Kansas Parents as Teachers Association, and I am based out of Wichita, Kansas. Previously, my role was the early childhood lead for Wichita Public Schools and oversaw the Parents as Teachers program there as well. And I'm excited to get to talk to you about Parents as Teachers, which is something that I feel incredibly passionate about today. So I just want to share a couple of things with you. The vision for Parents as Teachers is that all children will develop, learn, and grow to realize their full potential, while the mission is that Parents as Teachers promotes the optimal early learning development and health of children by supporting and engaging their parents and caregivers. The approach of Parents as Teachers is the same from the National Center all the way down to the state level, meaning that we work to partner, facilitate, and reflect both with families as well as with staff. So even for myself as an executive director, I receive reflective supervision, and that's really beneficial part of the model. It is a national evidence-based home visiting program, as many of the programs that you have heard about today. And I just want to share a couple of things with you. Parents as Teachers is a set of services with 7 goals. First one being that we would increase parent knowledge of early childhood development and improve positive parenting practices. In addition, provide early detection of developmental delays and connect families and children to services. Improve parent, child, and family health and well-being. That's a huge part of our program. Prevent child abuse and neglect. We currently also partner with DCF with FFPSA funds to provide services to families who have been identified as at risk and are at risk of having their child removed from the home. Increase children's school readiness and success, improve family economic well-being, and strengthen the overall community capacity and connectedness. There are 6 dynamic components of the Parents as Teachers model that we work to implement. The first one being reflective supervision that I shared about previously. The second one being personal visits, and visit frequency is based on a needs assessment. So we have some families that may receive even a couple of visits a week depending upon need, or maybe once a month. In addition, we provide group connections. Those are provided for families to connect with other families and strengthen their parenting skills and practices, as well as to cover many parenting topics to provide support for them. We also provide child screenings. I know that many of you in here are familiar with that term, to be able to provide developmental screening. We also provide a health review and a hearing and vision screening. We also work very hard as Parents as Teachers programs to connect families to resources in their communities. And as you know, that looks different in each community, but that is a goal of ours to make sure that they are connected to needed resources. We also provide a family-centered assessment, and that's really to look at the whole family and determine what supports they need and what needs to happen so that we can work to set goals with them. Program outcomes, I'm just going to touch briefly on a couple of them. Short-term outcomes include increased healthy pregnancies and improved birth outcomes. Early identification, as I spoke about earlier, and referral and connection to services. Increased parent knowledge of age-appropriate child development, including language, cognitive, social, emotional, and motor domains. We improve parenting capacity and parenting practices through parent-child relationships and demonstrating those positive parent-child interactions. We also improve family health and functioning, as is demonstrated by a quality home environment, social connections, and really work to empower the parents and the family. The intermediate goals include improved health and development, reduced areas of child abuse and neglect and cases of child abuse and neglect. Increased school readiness is a big focus for parents as teachers, as well as increased parent involvement in a child's care and education. And of course, the long-term goal being that in all of Kansas and nationally, that we would have strong, thriving communities with families and children who are ready to learn when they get to school. Just a couple of things that I want to share with you about Parents as Teachers in Kansas. We currently have 62 affiliate programs that are working to support families with Parents as Teachers services. Parents as Teachers programs are connected with their local school districts. And as my colleague Kelly spoke about previously, we're always working to determine where do we have gaps for home visit services in communities across Kansas and how we can partner together with each other to make that happen. We did serve 5,847 families across Kansas last year, and 7,912 children were served. And then this is just a little bit of information that is also in your packet about program services and impact. Overall, 54,572 personal visits were delivered last year to families in Kansas. And you can see that there's a little bit more information there regarding immunizations, as well as implementing the family-centered assessment, developmental screenings, and health reviews. Maybe. All right. I'm happy to answer any questions about parents as teachers.
Let's make it really short so we can get on to the home, the testimonial, because it's getting close to 1, but go ahead.
I took advantage of this opportunity when my kids were little, and now they're 17 and 18. I feel like I saw that there was like a decrease in funding at one point. Has that happened? Have we rebounded? Do you feel like adequate funding is being allocated?
Yeah, that's a great question. As you know, everybody would always love to have more funding, right, to be able to support families and children in Kansas. I have been with parents as teachers for 17 years now, and I have lived through that when we saw the days of we lost funding, which public schools lost funding. We also had TANF for a while, and those pieces that have happened. Right now, I would say that, while we would love to be able to fill those gaps in communities in Kansas and make sure that all families have access to home visiting and parents as teachers, we do have a really strong, robust parents as teachers program in Kansas that's thriving. So thank you for the question.
I'll just add one more. Yeah. So when you say 62 affiliates, so you're connected with 62 school districts?
Correct. So we have 62 affiliate programs. That's the way it functions through Parents as Teachers National Center, is that you're required to be an affiliate that has is implementing quality services and goes through a QEIP process. And so yes, they are all connected with their local school districts. We do have some consortiums as well, Senator Petty, where we have several programs that are working together to make sure that communities receive services.
And I know my school districts do, and I've been on the executive board as well. So we have.
So I'm actually going to pass it over to Elizabeth to speak first, and then we'll hop over to Jennifer. So Elizabeth, if you want to come on up.
My name's Elizabeth Rogers. It just changed recently, so I have to get used to the new one. I received services from KCSL and Healthy Families a few years ago when my oldest boys were younger, and now I have a new one that just let us all know he was here. So I'm just going to tell you about I was just going to tell you about what I experienced with Healthy Families. Life has a way of bleeding our highest highs with our lowest lows. Sometimes the moments that bring us the greatest joy are also the ones that challenge us the most. In 2017, I experienced this paradox firsthand. I welcomed my second child into the world, and in the same year found the courage to leave my abuser. It was a time of immense transition, uncertainty, and fear, but it was also the beginning of a journey that would shape not only my future, but the future of my children. Through resilience as well as support and guidance from KCSL, I was able to rebuild a life filled with strength and purpose. Today I stand here, not just as a survivor, but as someone who has turned adversity into advocacy, both for my family and for the people that I now serve with Novus Life Care Home Health. Leaving an abusive relationship is one of the most dangerous and difficult decisions a person can make. I was trapped in a cycle of control and gaslighting, uncertain of how to break free. When I finally did, I took a cautious approach. I framed it as a temporary break, telling my abuser, let's just take some time apart while you sort things out, or we can still be together, just not under the same roof. This gave me the space that I needed to leave safely, knowing that the risk of escalation is highest when a victim attempts to walk away. At my first child's pediatric appointment without him, the doctor asked me a question that made my heart sink. Was he violent with you? With quiet shame, I admitted the truth, yes. Then she asked if he had ever harmed the children. Thankfully, I could honestly say, no, not physically to my knowledge. That moment was a turning point. She connected me with vital resources, one of which was KCSL's Healthy Families program. Through Healthy Families, I met Crystal, and I never could have anticipated the impact that she would have on my life. I was vulnerable, a mother of two, just 3 months postpartum, living with my mom, trying to transition back into school and work while dealing with leaving the trauma of an abusive relationship. Crystal entered my life without judgment. She didn't tell me what I should do or how I should move forward. Instead, she listened. She provided support and guidance, helping me develop a safety plan for the instances that I would have to be around him. She taught me how to navigate single motherhood, ensuring that I was equipped with the knowledge I needed to support my children's growth. From developmental screenings to books, from a warm smile to unwavering encouragement, Crystal made an incredibly difficult time in my life just a little bit easier. Amid all this turmoil, I faced another unexpected challenge. My youngest child developed severe allergic reactions to my breast milk due to my diet. Despite clear symptoms, I struggled to get doctors to take my concerns seriously. I saw firsthand the difficulty of advocating for my child while my voice wasn't always heard. Crystal attended appointments with me, providing support, keeping my oldest entertained, and ensuring that I retained the critical information given to me by doctors. She empowered me to stand firm in advocating for my child's health, even when it felt impossible. After years of emotional abuse, finding my voice was one of the hardest battles I faced, but Crystal's presence gave me the confidence to fight for what I knew was right. This not only helped my family at that time, but it has also impacted and shaped my entire career. I now know how important advocacy is on a personal level, and it has helped me to truly treat my patients like family and advocate for their needs and best interests. Eventually, my small family of 3 graduated from Healthy Families program, but the impact of the support never left me. Because of KCSL, Healthy Families, and Crystal's guidance, I was able to return to school, earn my Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and pass the NCLEX to become a registered RN. I have worked in multiple healthcare settings using my own experiences to advocate for my patients. Over time, I advanced into leadership roles, and now, 5 years after leaving my abuser, I'm proud to say that I am the Director of Nursing for Novus Life Care Home Health. Healthy Families aims to build stronger families, providing parents with education and support that they need to create safe, stable environments for their children. Looking back, I see how that mission changed my life. The home visits I received during one of the hardest periods of my life didn't just help me survive, they helped me to thrive. Today, I carry the same purpose forward, working to keep elderly patients safe in their own homes, just as Healthy Families helped me create a safe home for my own children. My story is proof that support, education, and compassion can transform lives, and for that, I am forever grateful. I can answer questions too if you have any.
Does anybody have a question? I think the one thing I could say is that perfect example of that, if we provide the support, if the resources are there for support for young mothers in difficult situations, or families starting out, that the benefits are, overwhelming, because you are able to get that support to help you face the difficulties and to move ahead. And in this case, get your Bachelor of Science in Nursing and now be a director of a program. So when we talk here a lot about, economic return, I think it's pretty evident that the economic return is 100 times over.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sharing your story with us. And I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Hi, thank you for welcoming me here today. My name is Jennifer Whiteford Hauk, and I work with the Paola Parents as Teachers Consortium, and I serve families in Franklin, Anderson, and Miami counties as a home visitor. I remember the very first time a parent educator came to my door, took off her shoes, and sat on the floor with myself and my baby. I couldn't believe that somebody was willing to see past all those dropped Cheerios and toy clutter that had become part of my home to spend time learning about and understanding my family, my son, and my unique experience as a parent. Our visits were filled with lots of encouragement and reassurance and the hard moments of having so many questions. I was often told by Miss Melissa that I was a good mom, which were words that I really needed to hear out loud, as I was often faced with self-doubt and uncertainty, even as an early childhood professional. Fast forward to my own experience as a parent educator. I was inspired to look for a position doing this work after my own parents as teachers experience. When I first began, I had no idea how this career would change my life and the lives of those I've worked with. In my work as a parent educator, I have worked with single dads, parents fighting addiction and depression, families navigating serious medical diagnoses for their children, homelessness, and the list goes on. I have joined these families on their living room floors, the public library, the park, next to a pet goat in a yard, and on the sofa of a homeless shelter to talk about these parents' most important and precious people, their children. We've strategized ways to change bedtime routines, navigate potty learning, picky eating, accessing special education services, childproofing their homes, and obtaining books through Dolly Parton Imagination Library, but also to find food resources, to access therapy, to complete their high school educations, and to find housing, all of which has made them more, I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional, more available for ensuring the care and attention their children so desperately need for their current times as well as their futures. Being a parent educator with Parents as Teachers has taught me about the unique struggles and successes of parents in my community, which has led me to the conclusion that now more than ever, parents need support. There are countless resources at the click of a button, but nothing is more impactful than someone who will sit among the Cheerios with you while problem solving, holding a baby, or cheering you on as a parent.
I have sat with mothers as they cry in their first postpartum visit with me, learning how to navigate the needs of a new baby while a toddler begs for them to play. I have video chatted with incarcerated parents who were temporarily separated from their children to let them know that I visited their little one at childcare and reminded them that mommy will be back soon. Very recently, I worked with a parent who had relapsed in her addiction. She was very dedicated to finding a new life and way forward for herself and her children. During my work with her, she became homeless and lived in a local shelter, all while maintaining employment, sobriety, keeping her children in school, and working with me weekly. There were very dark moments, but there were also incredible ones, like the night that I was able to drop off a donated bike for her to gift her 5-year-old for his birthday. I remember the smile on her face as she watched him ride and the joy she experienced as she encouraged and cheered him on. Just a few months ago, this parent was ready to leave the shelter. She found a duplex in another community where she had family support and she was ready to start over. She called me last week as she made spaghetti in her very own kitchen to tell me about how work was going and the remaining check boxes she had left for enrolling her child in a new preschool. Home visiting is one of our most impactful community assets, especially in rural communities like mine, where resources are slender and sometimes parents are very isolated and lonely. Showing up to sit on the floor with parents, babies, toddlers, and preschoolers is the critical and important work of showing up for Kansas's future. I feel really privileged to be able to do this work and to be welcomed into the homes of these families weekly. And I want to thank you all for being here today and for everything you do for Kansas families.
Thank you. Last but not least, Gail.
You all have committees and things to get to. You were able to ask questions along the way. I think what we tried to show to you today is that from a home visitation standpoint in Kansas, there are a lot of options for families. We all have unique opportunities to support children and their parents in their communities. What I also hope that you saw from today is that we support each other and that we are here together and we work really hard to make sure that families are getting connected to the right service at the right time for them. So we are happy to answer any other questions you might have, but.
I think maybe we don't have any more questions, but we certainly appreciate all of you being here and the time that you've taken. And as Nikki mentioned, she was a mom with Parents as Teachers. I was a mom prior to Parents as Teachers, but my daughters have both participated in Parents as Teachers, and I've gone along a couple of times with home visitors or a home provider in the Kansas City, Kansas area to and had the opportunity to be part of a home visit, which was always a wonderful opportunity. So thank you so much for all the programs, because it really shows that, as Gail said, that you're working together, that we want to, the most important thing is we want to have these resources for our families, and so they can get off to a great start, because we know if we can get them off to the right start to begin with, it's just like in a classroom, then everything's going to go better for them, even though it can't take away all the traumas and all the stresses that come with life. Knowing how to parent is certainly something that everybody can profit from, having someone to hold their hand as they go along that route. So thank you very much. And with that, Emily, do you have something to add?
I'll just say, for anybody in the gallery, Senator Schmidt wanted me to make sure that you knew that he has left his cards. So these are up here for anybody who would like a card from Senator Schmidt. And then also for lawmakers, next week is our final Early Learning Caucus. So please encourage your peers to join along. A flyer has gone out either today in the House or later today in the Senate. And that next week will focus on some perceptions from the child care workforce based on some studies that were done by Kansas State University, and another one done on child care subsidy, perception of child care subsidy in Kansas, which was done by United Methodist Health Ministry Fund. So I wanted to make sure to invite you to next week's and for our final early learning caucus of the 2025 legislative session. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everything today.